はりそうか。化けてたな小僧。
I had made a previous video on June 12th talking about a release of the details and potentially getting some images, maybe a little bit of a teaser, something to show us what was going to be going on with the much anticipated Warner Brothers release, War of the Rohirrim. Now, that was shown at the Annecy, however the hell you say it, French Animation Festival, and reactions have started to come out. This article says that it marries the immense detail and Western aesthetics of J.R.R. Tolkien's fantasy series with the Eastern aesthetics of anime. The director, the same one, Kenji Kamiyama, who did Ghost in the Shell, Standalone Complex, did the animation for this. It has been said that the War of the Rohirrim looks a lot like the animation style of Vinland, which was a Viking saga done in an anime style. There are just a few passages in the appendix of The Lord of the Rings specific to the section of the House of Errol. Now, the House of Errol was the first line of kings within Rohan. War of the Rohirrim is set during the reign of Helm Hammerhand, who will be voiced by Brian Cox. What was revealed in yesterday's June 13th presentation? Number one, the producers were very happy to give the plot of the entire movie away. They just didn't let anybody take any images away. Interesting. Boyens called War of the Rohirrim a story, quote, about the wreckage of war, and also teased the film's front-heavy structure, in which, quote, one of the biggest battles comes at the end of the first act, and then where do you go, unquote. Well, Boyens' answer was one that she went to director Kamiyama to help solve. It became a story about supernatural grief and becomes akin to a ghost story. What else did we learn? The War of the Rohirrim will be seen through the eyes of a mostly unknown character. That is one way to put it. Get used to hearing the name Hera. That is a name that does not appear anywhere within Tolkien's works. As a matter of fact, Helm's daughter is just called Daughter, while his sons are named. Maybe that pissed off postmodern feminists and drove this. I don't know what people's motivations are, but now they're calling Helm's daughter Hera. And the reason given by Boyens is, quote, everyone else dies. Now, this Hera, the protagonist of this movie, will be voiced by Gaia Wise. Now, Boyens and the rest of the producers thought that it was a lot more interesting to follow around the daughter that was never named and never detailed within Tolkien's works instead of, say, Helm Hammerhand, or his two sons, or the king that came after Helm's death. They thought that it would be much more interesting to follow Hera through a feudal patriarchal warrior culture. The team stressed that a combination of vulnerability and hardiness was essential to Hera's characterization, and, quote, they didn't want her to be a standard issue warrior princess. We've received reports that, of course, this princess, those of you may be familiar with what I consider to be the very beautiful, athletic, strong women of Rohan that we've seen and read about. No, this Hera appears to be a tomboy and not a beautiful princess of Rohan. The production team said that they filled in the gaps by going back to what they interpreted as Tolkien's own influences for Rohan. Now, this includes the early Anglo-Saxons. I'd say they're correct there. Hera herself is inspired by the Lady of Mercians, a similarly buried figure in English history. Clearly, a film set in Rohan would return to several locations that we would all have known from Peter Jackson's trilogy, not to mention the books. The team behind this film is said to have worked with both John Howe and Alan Lee at the concept and design level. These are the same creators who were involved in Jackson's original trilogy, but of course were thrown out. I think there's more than enough evidence to support that, in my opinion, of what Amazon did with the Rings of Power. The decision to use an anime production style in Tolkien's universe was Phillipa Boyens. She said she wanted a more realistic style of animation. 2 exclusive clips were shown of rough animation at the film festival. It is said that the film leans into visual familiarity at the start with traditional Lord of the Rings voiceover and a shot of a weathered map opening up the movie. Now, from there, the camera work is said to emulate what Jackson did with the trilogy. One of the scenes that they showed at the animation festival was Hera, again the unnamed daughter of Helm, riding through mountainous landscape. The second sequence was more subdued but also busy, full of characters in the halls of Edoras. Director Kamiata said that the project was one of his largest undertakings ever. Now, in full disclosure, I've spent most of today very frustrated, along with a couple of other fellow YouTubers. Based upon what we've read and what we've seen, I am not entirely a purist when it comes to things having to be exactly the way that they were, exactly within stories, whether it be from Tolkien, Robert Jordan, anything else like that. But when you change the whole point of the story, of characters, and turn it into something that has an ideological bend or intersectionality, then I'm going to be frustrated, because there are plenty of opportunities for you to create something new where you can do that. Now, we all know what they do. They hijack and sabotage existing stories, characters, to interject their belief system. And then when we reject it, they call us names. I am really fearing that this is what the War of the Rohirrim has become. Am I just seeing ghosts? What do you think about this? Let me know in the comments section. I'm Salty Travel and See. You take it easy.